Hi everyone, good evening. Are we okay na? Yeah, so we're starting. Good evening everyone and welcome to AWS User Group Philippines March 2021 meetup. And my name is Ray Liz of AWS User Group Central Visayas and I am your host for tonight. And I'm very excited to start the talk, the webinar because the event right now, wait, share ko muna yung screen ko. Because our topics for tonight is really amazing. And by the way, please, kung may nag-join na new lang, kakarating lang, kindly mute your microphone. And later on, after each topics, you have the time to ask questions sa ating mga speakers, all right? And again, my name is Rhea Liz, and AWS User Group Philippines is a volunteer group here in the Philippines, but User Group is actually all over the world. But here in the Philippines, we're always having this meetup to share to you topics about or learnings about AWS or Amazon Web Services. And, you know, nakakamiss yung mga times na on-site yung webinar, yung meetup, kasi syempre iba yung nagkakakitaan, nagkakamustahan personally, and may mga swags, right? And may mga foods as well. Everyone loves that, right? And I think my screen is okay now. So yeah, again, welcome to AWS User Group Philippines March 2021 meetup. And before anything else, let me have some announcements. All right. And since we are volunteer, of course, we are calling for AWS professionals and enthusiasts na gustong maging speaker. So you can reach us sa AWS User Group Central Visayas. Meron din po tayong Facebook group ng AWS User Group. And please feel free to join. Okay? Kasi ang babait ng mga tao, yung kahit simple yung mga questions nyo, talagang merong mga taong tumutulong to answer your questions about AWS, because AWS User Group is not just for professionals, of course, for students, for those non-IT people who are really into learning Amazon Web Services, all right? So please, huwag kayong mahiya and share your talent and skills to the world. As mentioned, we really miss the times na, you know, the on-site meetup. But what's good thing about this online meetup is that we can share the events ng Manila, ng Cebu, parang whole Philippines na. And I know that some of you guys are not here in the Philippines, so it's really exciting. In fact, two of our speakers are not here in the Philippines, and we're excited we're excited about the topics that they will be sharing later on. And of course, we would like to share to you the newly certified AWS User Group Philippines members. And ito din yung isang advantage of being with AWS. And aside from recognizing you here, we are also giving free na mga trainings. Aside from this one, meron talagang comprehensive na training para talagang matuto kayo and you'll pass the exams that you will take. This is the newly certified AWS User Group members for February to March 2021. And congratulations, of course, to Erickson Joseph Santos. He's now an AWS certified cloud practitioner. And of course, to Sir Rafael Francis Kisombing, or Sir Rav. He is now AWS certified solutions architect professional. And to Sir Mel Matuto, he is now AWS certified DevOps engineer professional. So again, what's good thing about AWS User Group Philippines is that we're helping out each other to learn about the basics until hanggang yung mga bongga na ng mga certification, right? And that's really free. Of course, there's also paid naman, but if you'd like to have the free, meron din. So please join AWS User Group Philippines. You can easily find that on Facebook. Join now and share that to your friends. And I'm also very excited to share to you that you can now purchase AWS User Group merchandise, just go to store.awsug.ph. It's really easy to memorize, no? Store AWSUG.PH. Yan. So, syempre meron tayong mga freebies before, but if you also want to purchase some of these products, you can do that now. So visit the store.awsug.ph, and meron tayong mga keychains, my caps, my t-shirt, of course, and jackets, and meron din tayong pillow, which is really great, right? So go join the AWS user group and syempre mag-shopping din kayo. Okay. And as I mentioned, meron tayong mga free na aside from MEETUP na may certain topics lang, no? So for the tutorial group, we also have this, and yes, talagang wala kayong babayaran except of course for the certification. But for the trainings, you can apply to have a free training by reading that. You can take a screenshot of your screen right now. Parang nawala yung ano ko. Wait lang, ha? And I'm sorry. Yan, I think balik na. Wait lang. My screen is not working.
You need help, Rhea? I can share my screen.
That's fine. But okay, yun naman yung sa mga special announcements lang. So just find us sa AWS user group para maka-join kayo for the free training. And without further ado, sa mga announcements, we can have that naman later on then. Let's start na the talk, no? Is the first speaker ready na?
Sure.
Yes, I
Sir
am.
Vince, you ready na?
Yep, I am.
All right.
Yeah, introduce mo na, Rhea.
All right. So let me introduce to you our first speaker, and he's really amazing, and he's also a friend and a bossing before. He is a young professional with unique combination of leadership and technical skills, bringing to the table the ability to combine management with technical applications. He helped build applications for UNDP, World Bank, and Silicon Valley-based startups. He is currently running 2 startups, which is the Tudlo.co and callfly.com.au, which are invested by Smart Communications Inc., Idea Space Foundation, ITU, World Telecom, JFDI.Asia Hot Desk, and Advanced Queensland and Blue Startups. Introducing to you Mr. Vince Lorimia. Yay!
Hi guys, can you hear me now? Sorry for that.
Yes, and we can see your screen as well.
All right, perfect.
All right.
Once again, good evening. From here in Melbourne, Australia, time check, it's 10:14 p.m. So I'll make it short, brief, and concise. I know there are 3 speakers, but without further ado, I think Rhea introduced me to everyone. Tudlo is actually a cloud mobile enterprise. We started as disaster management application. We have customers in the Philippines through government. In NDRMC is one of them, and then we also went to United Nations for Africa Nation project. Most of our services or infrastructure or applications is handled by Amazon Web Services, obviously. We've been in Cebu, Philippines, incorporated in the Philippines for almost 9 years now. But we're constantly innovating. In fact, during the pandemic, we have a new product for e-commerce and e-delivery because we know everyone can just stay at home. So that's our topic currently, actually. So what we currently have is a e-commerce and e-delivery platform. And my topic is all about how did we scale, what are the learnings, and what are the takeouts of this new application that we published last year, right? So it's an e-commerce package which has mobile application, a web admin portal, and you could also have your own customized application in iOS and Android. And obviously, we are Tool Innovations. We've been awarded since 2012. Our recent award was the Global Mobile Awards 2018. And most of our teammates are obviously in different parts of the world. Most of our programmers are in Cebu, Manila, but we also have teammates in Singapore and here in Australia. So our platform is actually a delivery platform which I think you know, some of you know Panda Delivery. It's a delivery platform service in Albay, in Bicol region. They have 4 or 5 cities right now. We are the one who cater their application from mobile, iOS, Android, from infrastructure, from web backend and front end. And this is how it works in a mobile. This is another company which is also based in Bicol region, AWSUG. I think in Tagalog it's Hatid, or in Bisaya it's Hatud. So every customer that we currently cater, they could customize the logos, the color theme, even the functionalities, and we can deploy their application in 10 seconds. But obviously, it's a marketing spell, okay? All right. So we now have deployed 12 applications within the pandemic period. And how did we do it? We have the right people. In fact, our iOS engineer is the #1 winner for the Secure Code Warrior. Myself is also top 8 of the React.js Secure Code Warrior component. And we also have right tools. Tools means from your computer, from your code platforms, from your code pipelines, from your infrastructures. You need to have, right advanced technologies. And obviously, right processes from your GitHub code commit messages, from your QA testing, and from deploying your project to the production, you need to have that right processes. And obviously, you need AWS, Amazon Web Services, as it is the only right infrastructure currently in the market. So how did we use Amazon Web Service in this particular application that we have? The e-delivery. We have several applications within our platform, but most of the heavyweights is handled by serverless. Serverless, I think some of the speakers will more speak about it. It's handled by our Lambda Function, and we have cloud formation to do all this magic in our servers. Every time we merge from our development UAT server towards master, it builds automatically, so you don't have to worry about anything. And we use API gateways, um, and the cost wise, from 100,000 pesos, we just cut from I think 90%. Okay. So what are the benefits? Prior to that, I will show you what our tools that we use. We use Visual Studio Code. This is also my personal choice, because you could just see your commits here, your repositories. You could have more tools, and it's easy for you to upload, and you could connect also with your Docker containers. So it's quite handy. Obviously, there are also compatible code platforms out there, but we find it easy. We also use GitHub. GitHub is easier for us to push some codes, and we have these processes in place where we do code reviews, and we have Scrum management, and Agile Scrum Master, to have more concise features. And obviously, most of it is teamwork. So we don't actually have this tech lead, master, slave kind of concept. We are owning our own space, kumbaga. So what are the benefits? The benefits is actually we minimize cost. Previously, we have 10 servers. Now we cut it down to just 3. It's all because everything now is like our notifications, our location services, our email services, is now handled by Lambda through Node.js and serverless functions. And it's pay as you go. So I'll just show you how we set it up in our code base. So we have this cloud formation stacks in our servers, and we just push them, and the cloud formation will just do everything in one place. Yeah. And we have all this automatic scalability. From before, we have to always monitor our servers when we use PHP, Laravel, MySQL, Apache. We just need to create more servers as we go along. But with AWS Lambda serverless, we don't need to do that. It scales automatically. Now, what are the killer use cases? Currently, we're using it for our daily tasks. So instead of using cron jobs, we used some serverless functions to do those reporting cron jobs. And we use also for push notifications, especially for email. We connect with SES, which is an email service of Amazon Web Services. And we also use it for static files, processing big files, static files towards the S3 objects, and also chatbots. Quicker iterative development. Right now, our developers spend more time on improving product. What we use is Scrum development, Agile development, where we have brainstorming on our stories. We put story points 1, 3, and 5. And 1 is actually 1 day of development and testing and deployment. 3 story point is 3 days. So that's how we cut all our features into story points. When new features are ready to ship, we kind of put it in a timely manner where we just have these sprint planning meetings on when we push to the production, and it's usually in 2 weeks. And we have less operational management right now, and it's all because of the automatic scalability. So we don't need to maintain the service. And obviously, we now consolidate the functionality. While we use before PHP, Laravel, right now with serverless, we don't need to do all those configurations, especially templatings and everything. It's so painful. With AWS, Lambda, and SES, it's now much faster. So basically, as you know, e-commerce is just electronic commerce. But with our business model, what we did is we transform everyone who wants to be the Grab 2.0 or Uber or DoorDash or Food Panda. Now everyone could have their own platform with just less of amount of pesos. With AWS, with the right tools, right mindset, we've done that in the Philippines. Obviously, the e-commerce right now is at 3.53 trillion US dollars. That's obviously 2019. And the online shopping will always be going up. In fact, I'm doing e-commerce platforms here also in Australia. I don't know if you're familiar with Target. Target is not actually, Target Australia is not part of Target USA. They have different owners. So as you can see, before we have 9 servers inside our infrastructure, but with Amazon Web Services to the cloud, we don't need to worry about 10,000 of users coming into our e-commerce site. It can handle right now. And this one also is built in React.js. I know there's another speaker who would speak about single page application. Aside from the right infrastructure, you need to have right code stack or tech stack. React.js, obviously it's component based. You don't need to worry about refreshing and handling variables towards one component to another component. And obviously the style sheets towards with components is easier. Yeah. So, and we also cater drop shipping. Our platform is capable to handle different kinds of e-commerce. Drop shipping is just one way to be in the online world of commerce without having your own inventory. Because with e-commerce, you need to have obviously your setup online, but you need also operation guys to do that, and most especially products to sell. But with drop shipping, you don't need to worry. Warehouse to your customer's doorstep, they can do that. And I believe on drop shipping, in fact, by 2025, it will grow in magnanimous size. So what we offer, it's just 100K of package, and an e-commerce platform. And you have also an e-delivery service and platform in mobile, iOS, Android, and web. That's all, folks. That's my pitch. I know I'm not too techy right now, but the two speakers could be more techy than I am. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Vince Larimia. And yes, of course, with AWS, there are really plenty of advantage, and those are like minimizing the cost because you not pay as you go, and as you mentioned, consolidated functionality. And right now, with the situation that we have, plenty of businesses actually needs has turned their business to e-commerce, right? So the more e-commerce needs, marami din talaga yung need ng AWS services. And thank you so much for sharing how you use AWS to your business, Mr. Vince Larimia. Is there any question about the topic? You may unmute if you'd like
Don't be
to.
shy.
Hi.
I don't think they can unmute, but I think they can
Okay.
they can type in the Q&A. Yeah.
All
Kasi
right.
naka-seminar mode.
Okay. Kindly ask your question sa Q&A or sa chat box natin if you have any questions.
Actually, I have a question kay Sir Vince. No? I've been thinking about this kanina. Kasi sabi ni Sir Vince na yung team niya was doing mga PHP Laravel applications, right? Then they transitioned to serverless. No? So just want to ask, Sir Vince, what are the pain points that your team has experienced when you did the move, right? And then how did you address them or how did you overcome yung mga pain points na yun? Kasi syempre medyo bago pa si serverless. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Not just serverless, transition really from server-side scripting, right? From, sorry for that, there's someone calling. Let me turn it off first. Yeah, from PHP Laravel server-side scripting, and it's open source. It kind of work in Web 2.0, but with applications right now, with millions of people coming into your application, PHP, MySQL, Apache setup doesn't really work. Even though you put it in the right infrastructure, there are things in user experience wise, PHP doesn't, even with jQuery, and it's difficult to maintain. You have like 1,000, 10,000, 100 million lines of codes, but with React.js, it's component-based JavaScript. You don't need to worry about backend. The pain point is actually converting our developers' mindset from being MVC, model view controller of PHP server-side scripting, towards the React kind of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We just really get a project and decided to really play with React.js. Obviously, the first was a lot of mistakes. There are lessons to learn, but we're proud to say that we're one of the pioneers in React in the Philippines. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. No, iba talaga kasi yung mindset. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Rhea,
Okay.
yeah. I think there's a question.
Yes, there's
Win.
a question from Win. Good evening, Sir Vince. Are you hosting the PaaS in different AWS accounts?
Currently, since our clients, there are clients also have some tech personnel on their end, but they don't really know about the cloud infrastructure and everything. So it's usually hosted on our end, and we just have this business model wherein 100K setup, but we have these transaction fees every time there's a transaction coming in on their end. We can set up on different AWS accounts, but that's a different business model.
All right. When nasagot ba yung sa tanong mo? Or do you have follow-up question?
Yeah. So our current business model is every time there's a new client, we just put them in. If it's a very small client, we put it in light sale. Like if they don't really have a budget, and if they have more budget, then we put it in AC2.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Lorimia. Yeah, hi Win. I hope na answer naman yung tanong mo. And meron pa ba ibang question or follow-up questions before we move on to the next speaker? Just one more question kasi of course hindi naman unlimited time natin, but you can ask Sir Vince naman. You can add him on Facebook as well. He can be found naman easily. Okay, you're welcome, Win. No more questions?
Ayun, may dalawa.
Oh, yun. Oh, okay. Hi, Ricardo. This is from Ricardo. So sa business model, the serverless portion lang is using code pipeline, right?
Yeah, I don't really understand the question. What I meant by the business model currently, our pricing model, we charge 100K for the whole setup, from the server, from iOS, mobile, web, and customization. But the customization is just the logo and color theme appearance, and they can even manage by themselves. What I meant by our infrastructure is now in serverless. Some of them is in different platforms. They don't need to know that. So we're not charging per service of using Amazon Web Services.
Okay. All right. Thanks for your question, Ricardo.
I think there's a question from Win. Is the business model renewable type, annual contract? Yeah. As what I've mentioned a while ago, it's just a one-time setup fee. But if there are additional features, additional functionalities, we charge them by the number of hours that we'll be working on that kind of feature. And then after, there's also a transaction fees. So like for instance, if their booking fee is 35 pesos or 50 pesos, we get 5 pesos or 10 pesos on top of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you again, Mr. Vince Lorimia. Okay. Last question po, para maka-move on tayo sa next na speaker. And again, if you have more questions to Mr. Vince Lorimia, you can just add him on Facebook and message him about it. Is that okay naman po, Sir Vince?
Yeah, no problem at all. And if you want to migrate here in Australia, I can do that also.
My invitation pa.
Yeah, because we lack a lot of IT professionals. I know you want green money. You want to be greedy in life and have a good life. I'm not saying leave the Philippines. We all love the Philippines. But if you want more action in your life, then I can also help you.
Cool.
We also have some projects. We really need React.js developers, cloud practitioners, because we lack most of that talent. It's scarce right now.
True. I'm in recruitment for IT as well, and it's really kind of hard to find the senior React.js. So I feel you. All right. I think yan na muna yung mga questions natin for Sir Vince. Now again, if you have more questions for Mr. Vince Lorimia's topic, you may add or message him on Facebook. That's Vince Lorimia. And let's now move on to the next topic. And the next topic will be about ano ngayon? Okay, our next speaker is the back-end tech lead of Education.PH, and he also handles the infrastructure in AWS. He has 2 AWS certifications and has been working with AWS technologies for a few years now. Let me call in Mr. Troy Policarpio.
Sir Troy? Set up lang. Ayun.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Hindi pala ako Alright. I'll share my screen.
Yes.
Oops. Sorry. Okay. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Rhea, for the introduction. So disclaimer na muna. I'll be on Taglish mode kasi mas na-express ko yung thoughts ko better pag nagta-Taglish ako. Okay, so for my topic for tonight, I'll be talking on serverless on SPA. So to break down my presentation, quick refresher lang sa SPA. Then, di-define natin yung problems. Pero syempre, hindi lahat ng problems ni SPA try natin solve. Try lang natin i-solve yung mga problems sa SPA na kaya natin i-solve through serverless. And then, after that, yung mismong application na ng serverless on SPA. Okay? So, refresher lang. What are single-page applications? Single-page applications, a web application or website that interacts with the user by dynamically rendering web pages on the client's browser instead of loading entirely new pages from web server. So what happens here is binubuo yung page dun sa browser ni client. Okay, so si client yung nag-fetch ng APIs. Tapos siya na rin yung nag-change ng DOM. So siya na yung nag-structure ng pinaka-page mo. And yan, ang difference niya with server-side rendered is server-side rendered, si server yung nagbubuo ng page mo. Okay, so ayan, once na mabubuo na yung page, saka pa lang niya isa-serve yan sa client. So yun yung main difference ng dalawa. Okay, so main advantage of using single-page application is yung speed niya. Kasi most resources on SPA needs to be loaded the first time na mag-load ka ng page. Okay. So yan, yung mga HTML mo, CSS, scripts, they are preloaded on your first load. Then, pag magpe-page transition ka, or tatalon ka ng ibang page, ang bahala na doon yung mga na-load na JavaScript. So, lahat yan nangyayari sa client side. Okay? So, because of that, kaya may parang native feel, parang native app feel yung SPA. Kasi pag nag-click ka, nakikita mo na may nangyayari. Whereas, kung i-compare mo sa server-side rendered, may times na makikita ka pa dong white screen kasi yun yung time na niload pa ni server yung page mo. Then, pag tapos na siya, binato na sa client, saka pa lang maglo-load yung page. Okay, so, yan. Then, SPAs, they are usually hosted on static hosts like S3, Netlify, GCS. But doesn't mean na hindi hostable ang SPA on web servers. Then SPAs, sorry. Okay, sige. I'll continue. But doesn't mean na kahit SPA ka, hindi mo siya pwede host on web servers. Pwede ka pa rin magkaroon ng web server, pero yun nga lang, static files lang yung isa-serve mo sa clients mo. Okay? So, pros and cons, yan. Pro niya is fast. Most resources are only loaded once throughout the lifespan of the application. Though pro siya dito, I don't entirely agree with this statement. This will be true only if properly optimized yung bundles mo. Okay, so nag-implement ka ng proper tree shaking, tapos nile-lazy load mo lang yung mga modules or yung mga JS na nandun ka na sa fast side. However, cons din niya is kapag slow yung connection ng user. So for example is naka-mobile data ka and mahina yung reception ng mobile data mo. So as we know, sa client side binubuo yung page. So yung pag-fetch ng assets, pag-fetch ng API, affected siya nung slow connection mo. Okay, kaya parang naging cons pa yung SPA on slow connections. Whereas compared sa server, hindi siya affected kung slow hindi siya ganun ka-affected kung slow yung connection ni user kasi lahat ng fetching ng assets or ng APIs nangyayari dun sa server side. So, ang maapektuhan lang dun yung latency pag ibabalik na ng server yung page dun sa mismong client. Okay. Also, SPA doesn't do well on search engine optimizations and other platforms na gumagamit ng meta tags. So example nun is yung Facebook, Twitter. So di ba papansin nyo kapag sa Facebook, excuse me, sa Facebook kapag nag-paste ka ng URL, parang may lumalabas siya na preview, may picture tapos description. So yan ay dahil sa meta tags. Okay, so meron kang open graph meta tags din sa site mo. Kaya kapag sinishare mo yung page na yun somewhere on Facebook, lumalabas yung photo and description na yan. Okay. Also on Google, actually na-try ko na rin to, na nakakapag-run na raw ng JSC Google. Chinek ko yung index namin. Nakikita ko nga na may mga pages na nakakapag-run na ng JS. Pero marami pa rin akong pages na nakikita na hindi pa rin nakakapag-run ng JS. So, yan, conclusion, SPA hindi pa siya, doesn't do well much on search engine optimizations. Yan. Okay. Then, another pro is, madali mag-debug and troubleshoot sa SPA. Kasi, using browser dev tools, makikita mo kung paano binubuo ng client side yung page mo. Kaya lang, kung because of that, pwede rin na-read yung static files mo and yan, pwede makakita ng vulnerabilities on your site. So, example for this is, let's say sa front-end code mo, gumagamit ka ng AWS SDK and you are using AWS access keys, right? Para magamit mo yung AWS SDK. Ngayon, common mistake is nilalagay din yung AWS keys dun sa front-end code. So ngayon, pag binundle siya ng Webpack, nasasama yung keys dun sa JS na ibabundle. And yan, vulnerability siya kasi may expose yung AWS keys mo. Okay. So, ang suggestion na lang dun is, gawa ko na lang na API gateway Lambda. Tapos sa Lambda mo i-call yung specific AWS service na kailangan mo. At least doon, hindi mo na rin kailangan ng access keys. Okay. Then also, SPA is less secure because walang session dito unlike sa server. So, stateless ka. Kailangan matino yung authorization tsaka authentication mo dun sa mga APIs mo. Okay. So, okay. So for this, yung mga problems na kaya tatry nating solusyonan using serverless is itong SEO and also itong sa security. Okay, yung sa statelessness niya. Okay, so start tayo dun sa security. Paano ba tayo nag-authenticate and authorize ng users on SPA? Sa serverless way, ito yung usual na stack na ginagamit, Cognito, Lambda API Gateway, and authorizers. And yan, gumagamit tayo ng JWT token sa process, which is digitally signed. So digitally signed siya ni Cognito. Pero pwede rin siya i-signed ng ibang authentication service, or for our case, and digitally signed by Cognito. And compact, maliit lang yung token na to. So process is i-append mo siya on all your APIs. Ito na yung magsisilbing, ito na yung i-check nung authentication or authorization checker mo, itong tokens na ina-append mo on your APIs. Also, self-contained yung tokens. Through claims, nababawasan yung calls mo sa database. For this, meron tayong 4 na areas na titingnan pag gumagamit tayo ng tokens on SPA. So first is yung generating tokens. Usually, meron kang login API. Okay, so dun mo pinapasok yung username, password. Then, check sa Cognito user pool kung tama yung credentials. Then, bibigyan ka na niya ng JWT token. Pwede rin sign in with Facebook and Google na dumadaan sa Cognito. Okay, para naka-streamline din yung login process mo. So, next, pag may tokens ka na, doon na tayo sa pag-store ng tokens. Okay, so usually, ini-store yung token sa local storage ni browser. Okay, may debate dito if safe bang gawin yan. Kasi for one, pag local storage, kaya siyang i-edit ng kahit na sinong user. So meron kang risk for tampering ng tokens. And second is XSS attack. So kasi pag may XSS attack, nakakapag-run ng JavaScript yung attacker and pwedeng makuha yung tokens mo. Okay? So counter arguments for that, start tayo sa tampering. Mahirap i-tamper naman yung tokens kasi digitally sinign siya ni Cognito. So may keys na ginagamit doon na nasa Cognito lang. Kaya the most that you can, pag tinry mo i-tamper ito, yung tokens mo, usually makakuha ka lang ng invalid token. Okay, then second point, yung sa XSS attack. Okay, so for me, pag may XSS attack ka, least of your concern itong tokens. Kasi there's much more sinister and malicious things na pwede mangyari sa site mo pag may XSS attacks ka. So, yan. For that, prevent mo na lang yung XSS points kung saan pwede ka ma-XSS. So, check mo kung saan yung mga parts ng site mo na pwede mag-run ng JavaScript yung other people. Okay, so, yan. So, for me, okay lang mag-store ng token sa local storage. Yan, lang problem siya sa akin. Next is yung authentication ng tokens and pag-authorize ng access. So, this one, sabay na natin to. Let's look at the diagram at the right. So, ito yung process ng paggamit ng authorizers which is built in sa API gateway. Okay, so what happens here? So, before, kapag tatawag ang user ng API, so bago siya pumunta dun sa Lambda, wherein nandito yung logic nung API mo. Si API gateway, padadaanin niya muna to on a Lambda authorizer. So separate Lambda to. Meron din Cognito authorizer, pero stick na tayo sa Lambda authorizer for this discussion. Okay, so yung Lambda authorizer, magbabalik siya ng allow or deny. Depende kung pwedeng i-access ni user yung API or not. Okay? So pag allowed, yan, diretso ka lang dito sa API logic mo. Pag deny, balik ka ng 403. Actually, pwede rin 401 na try ko na dito sa Lambda authorizer. However, pag gumamit ka nga lang ng Lambda authorizer, yung burden ng pag-check kung valid pa yung token is kailangan mo implement yourself. Also, yung pag-verify ng token mo kung galing pa siya, kung galing ba talaga siya dun sa Cognito user pool mo. It's done by JWK's verification. May mga libraries na naman for that. Okay, so pag okay ka dun sa dalawa, okay na yung authentication mo. Doon ka naman sa authorization. Check mo if yung user may sapat siyang permissions to access that API. Kasi what if yung tinatry pala niyang i-access is for admin role, pero hindi siya admin. Okay, so yan, ito na yung magbabalik ka ng 403 access denied. Okay. So, yun yung sa security. So, marami namang tutorials nito online. So, if gusto nyo explore ito, search nyo na lang siya online. Okay. Next, ito yung medyo magiging bulk. Ito na yung magiging i-discuss ko for the rest of the session, search engine optimization. Okay. Emphasize ko lang why this is important. Kasi on search engine optimization, summarize ko na lang kasi ayoko rin nagbabasa ng mahabang text. Search engine optimization. Dito, ini-increase natin yung visibility ng product natin, ng site natin, through non-paid search engine results. Okay, so keyword dito is non-paid, organic siya, wala kang binabayaran. And also, there's a statistic na nagsabi na 20 times daw yung traffic na nabibigay sa'yo ng SEO compared dun sa mga pay-per-click or paid advertisements. Okay, so sobrang win-win nito. So, kaya lang, since search results to, especially sa Google, syempre marami kang kalaban, mahirap talaga mag-rank. So kapag nandoon ka na sa first page, masabi mo na maganda yung SEO strategy nyo and nakapag-implement kayo ng maayos na SEO on your site. Okay? So may dalawang classification ng SEO according to usage. So meron tayong white hat. So ito yung, this refers to the kapag gumagamit ka ng proper SEO techniques and best practices. Okay? Pero sa black hat, ito yung tinatry mong i-full yung search engine. Okay, so fun fact, before 2009, merong meta tag na keyword. Okay, ginagamit siya ni Google para ginagamit siya ng algorithm ni Google para magbigay ng search results. Kaya lang, inaabuso siya ng mga tao. For example, nag-trending si Miley Cyrus. Then ilalagay nila sa keyword meta tag nila, Miley Cyrus. So may chance na mapunta sila dun sa search result ng user na to kahit wala namang kinalaman yung site nila dun sa sinesearch ng user. Okay, so yan. Madali siyang i-abuse. Kaya as of 2009, hindi na ginagamit ni Google yung keyword meta tag. And in-index na lang nila yung pinaka-content talaga ng site mo. Okay, so ang best practice ngayon, every 200 words, nandun yung keyword mo. So kung 600 words ka na, at least 3 times sana lalabas yung keyword mo. So yan, yun na yung practice ngayon. Okay, wait lang. Okay, sorry, yung question ba i-entertain ko after ng talk ko or habang nagtatalk na rin ako?
I think we should have that lang after so that we can have the talk continuous lang. So again, guys, let's just have the questions if you have after each topic. All right?
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So na-emphasize natin why SEO is important. So we will try to provide our solution using serverless. However, before ako tumalon dun sa solution, there's 2 topics lang na gusto ko munang daanan kasi they will be vital para dun sa pagbuo ng solution kasi sila yung parang foundation. Okay. So first is itong sitemap. So sitemap, ito yung blueprint ng website mo. So nandito nandito yung list ng pages ng site mo. So ito yung binibigay mo kay Google para ma-index niya properly yung pages ng site mo. Okay? So merong different ways para mag-generate ng sitemap. Pwede kang gumamit ng online sitemap generator. However, yung problem lang with this one, pag may mga kasi yung ginagawa ng itong online sitemap generator, nagko-crawl lang siya. So usually gumagamit siya ng algorithm na similar sa DFS or BFS, if you heard of it. So yan. Cocral niya lang lahat ng pages na kaya niyang makita na nakalink with each other. However, paano kung may pages ka na lumalabas lang on your search result? So indirectly connected yung page na yan sa pages ng site mo. Okay? Hindi mo naman pwede sabihin kay online sitemap generator na mag-search ka tapos kabit mo yung mga search results din sa sitemap na ginagawa niya. So, yan. Using online sitemap generator, malaki yung chance na may maraming site na hindi ka malilink kasi indirectly connected sila. Also, you can use tool provided by your web platform or web framework. Sample to is sa WordPress. I think may plugin like Yoast SEO. Tapos yan, pwede mo na gamitin yan pang gawa ng sitemap. Or, gawa tayo ng custom sitemap generator natin. Which is ito yung gagawin natin later. Next is yung static site generation. Okay, so for this one, we pre-render the sites page. Yung mga page ng site natin, pinaparender natin. Para kapag check na sila ng mga bot crawlers, makikita na agad yung content ng page and yung meta tags. Okay, so ang difference nito with SPA and SSR, si SPA and SSR, binibuild nila yung page at runtime. So kapag may user na request ng page na to, saka pa lang nabibuild yung HTML ng page na yan. However, sa static site generation or SSG, pinaprebuild na natin yung page. Okay, so ayan, before runtime. So pwedeng upon deployment, nagbibuild ka or meron kang script na nagbibuild on schedule, sabihin natin weekly, ganun. So yan, yun nag-work si static site generation. Okay. Note lang na yung pages na ma-render mo dito is kung ano man yung nakikita ng logout user mo. Okay? Kasi walang concept ng login dito. So kung ano nakikita ng logout user mo, yun lang talaga yung ma-render mo na pages. Okay, so static site generation methods. Pwede rin tayo gumamit ng tool provided by your web framework. Sample nito is React Gatsby. Or pwede rin tayo gumamit ng SSG middlewares. Sample nito is siparender.io. Or gagawa tayo ng sarili nating static site generator, which is ito rin yung gagawin natin. Okay, so present na natin yung solution. Okay, so ito na siya. Ang solution natin is implement SSG along with SPA. Okay, so we want to get the best of both worlds. So si SSG, siya na yung bahala sa meta tags and content para kapag first load ng user ng Google crawler or ng Facebook, kita na niya agad yung proper meta tags and content ng pages mo. Then sa user perspective naman, so pag na-fetch na yung initial na HTML through SSG, balik ka na dun sa SPA behavior, which is yung speed on your page transitions. Okay, so what you want to do here is a little bit different kasi yung sa SSG before na na-discuss ko, ginagawa siya on sabi natin schedule or upon build time. Pero yung gusto natin gawin dito is i-run natin si SSG on runtime din. Okay? So, explain ko to in detail later. For our approach, hindi naman siya novel solution. Actually, si Gatsby, SSG plus SPA na rin siya. Medyo similar din yung approach niya. However, ang problema lang kay Gatsby is, ayan, pinaparender niya lahat ng sites, lahat ng pages mo upon build. Okay? So, walang exception. Ang problem doon is kapag habang lumalaki yung number of pages mo, tumatagal din yung deployment mo. And kung yung pipeline mo is outside AWS, hindi ka gumagamit ng code pipeline, or sabihin natin nasa Bitbucket yung repository mo, doon ka nag-run ng pipeline, then kailangan pa rin siya upload sa S3. So yung 50,000 pages na yun, may extra step pa na kailangan mo siya upload to S3. And yan, since dumadaan siya ng internet, mas matagal yung latency niya compared kung nasa code pipeline ka ni AWS na nasa network na rin ni AWS. So, yun yung isa sa mga problems na pwede nyo ma-encounter on Gatsby. Okay, so, yan. So, sabi natin, gusto natin si SSG is runtime. Runtime natin siya gagawin. Also, yung pinaka gusto rin natin gawin is dynamic yung pag-populate ng sitemap and dynamic yung pag-render. Okay, so syempre, sino ba naman yung may gusto na kapag may bagong page, kailangan mo siya i-add manually sa sitemap. Kailangan mo i-render manually yung page na yan. So, syempre, gusto natin automated lahat. So, included na rin yun dito sa process natin. Okay? So, sige, explain natin more in detail. Okay. Ano ko lang yung pen ko. So, we have this client. Meron kang CloudFront. So, itong CloudFront, siya yung bahala sa pag-serve ng assets and ng HTML pages. Okay, so sabihin natin mag-access si client ng /blog and existing na yung, rendered na yung page na yun sa SSG bucket natin. Okay, so what happens here is mababalik sa client yung HTML page. Yung HTML page lang. Kasi yung laman nitong SSG bucket, purely HTML lang to. Wala ditong assets. Ang assets mo is nandito sa pinaka-SPA bucket mo talaga. Okay, so yun yung difference yung dalawa. Okay, so balik tayo. Fetch mo yung /blog, babalik sa'yo yung pre-rendered na HTML ni /blog. Then pag naki-client na yung HTML, load na niya yung mga scripts and assets on that HTML page. Ngayon, balik siya kay CloudFront, then saka pa lang niya i-fetch yung mga assets dun sa SPA bucket mo. Okay, so for this approach, kailangan mo lang sa CloudFront is mag-set ka ng dalawang origin. Isa for your SPA bucket, isa for your SSG bucket. Then sa path behavior, i-point mo lang yung /assets to SPA bucket. Then default, dito ka na sa SSG bucket. Okay, so paano naman yung case? Sabihin natin may bago kang page, pero yan, bagong page, so hindi pa na-render. Wala pa siya sa SSG bucket. So, si SSG bucket, mag-return siya ng 404. Pero sa CloudFront natin, meron tayong custom error response na nag-handle ng 404. So, magbabalik tayo ng, override natin yon, magbabalik tayo ng 200. Tapos, ang ilo-load natin is yung index.html na naka-SPA bucket. So, mangyayari doon, naka-SPA mode ka lang sa client mo. Balik ka lang ng SPA kung hindi existing sa SSG bucket mo yung pre-rendered na page. Okay? So, paano naman nangyayari yung pre-rendering? Okay, so dito na siya sa API Gateway and Lambda. Okay, so every page jump ng site, tumatawag kami ng API Gateway, ng API. So, yan, may API Gateway and Lambda here. Okay, so yung Lambda namin, tatlo naman yung ginagawa niya. Isa is nagtatrack kasi kami ng analytics for page jumps ng user. Second is yung pag-update ng sitemap. And third is render yung page if necessary. Okay. Yeah, all right. Okay. So, yun nga lang, since every page jump, tumatawag tayo nung Lambda. So, you can argue na medyo magastos siya. But, ayan, magastos lang siya if lagi kang mag-render every time natatawag ka ng Lambda. Okay, so dapat properly configured yung conditions mo kung kailan ka lang mag-render. Kasi yun lang yung magastos na process dun eh. Yung pag-add sa sitemap nung site mo and yung pag-track ng analytics. Ano lang yun eh, super simple process lang yun eh. Ang medyo complicated na process is yung pag-render. Kaya dapat properly configured yung conditions mo sa pag-render ng page. Okay, so ito yung conditions namin. So, pag may bagong page, so first time niya ma-add sa sitemap, render namin siya. Yun yung first condition. Second is, nasa sitemap na siya, pero may changes dun sa meta tags. Okay? So, kailangan i-update yung pre-rendered pages natin. Third is, if for some reason, nasa sitemap na yung page mo, pero hindi na per-render, wala siya dun sa SSG bucket. Yan, kailangan rin natin siya i-render. Then fourth, ito medyo important. So si index.html dun sa SPA, kasi ito yung file na sinaserve for all pages. Okay? So ngayon, pag mag-implement ka kasi ng changes for, sige, magbigay na pala ako example. So for example, gusto mo mag-implement ng GA script sa lahat ng pages mo. Usually, dito mo siya kinakabit sa index.html. Ngayon, kailangan mag-reflect din yun sa lahat ng pages mo. Kaya kailangan i-update mo rin yung mga pages na nandun sa pre-render bucket mo. Okay, so that's the fourth condition. And fifth condition, actually hindi na siya condition kasi override na to. So kapag may query parameter ka na, yan, for example, force equals to true, regardless kung ano yung condition, ipe-render mo yung page na yan. Tapos, yan, pag na-render mo na yung page, upload mo lang to SSG bucket. Okay, so, yan. Mangyayari doon, sabihin natin first time, wala ka pa sa SSG bucket. Naka-SPA mode ka, then tatawag lang nung Lambda. Check niya, wala pa dito sa SSG bucket. Then, yan, ipe-render na niya, upload to SSG bucket. The second time na i-access ng kahit na sinong user yung page na yan, yan, may makukuha na silang pre-rendered page. So, this setup, nag-work to dynamically because dun sa, ang magiging trigger kasi nito is kapag may kahit isang beses na na-access ang isang page. Okay, so, yan. Problem dito, pag walang nag-access ng isang page, hindi ma-run tong Lambda natin and hindi ma-render yung page. So, yan. Kailangan may mag-access muna at least once ang isang page bago siya ma-add sa sitemap and SSG bucket. Okay, so sa SPA side naman mangyayari yan. Alright. So, last slide. Background task na lang. Siyempre, kailangan updated palagi yung sitemap natin. So, weekly nag-run kami ng pang-update ng sitemap, which is ito yung binibigay sa Google para ma-index properly yung pages. And next is yung pag-update ng stale content. So, ginagawa namin to monthly. Kasi if mapapansin nyo sa per-render condition, yan, wala tayong pang-check if may change dun sa content. Kasi relatively sobrang hirap mag-track ng changes sa content. Pwede siguro if gagawa ka ng div wrapper, tapos dun mo ilalagay yung content. Pero kasi sa case namin, hindi siya mag-work. Okay. Sige. Tapos, yun lang. So, ang ginagawa namin dun sa S3 pre-render bucket, naglalagay lang kami ng life cycle expiration of 30 days. Then, ayan, mabubura na siya after 30 days. However, may event trigger to Lambda na kapag may na-delete na page, ipe-render namin uli yung page na yan. So, ayan, guaranteed na maki-refresh yung content ng pages ng site namin. And yan, important yan kasi like I said before, si Google ang ini-index niya ay yung content ng pages natin. Okay, so yan. Quick demo na lang ako. One minute lang. Tagal ko na pala nag... Alright. Okay. Sorry, wait lang. Ano yun? Okay, sige. So here, nakikita nyo ba yung sharing debugger ko, Facebook sharing debugger? Can anyone confirm?
Yes, right.
Yes.
We can see it. Yeah.
All right, so quick demo lang. So, itong page na to, hindi pa siya napupuntahan ever. Okay, so yan, pag tinry siya i-scrape, Yung makikita nyo is yung default meta tags lang namin. So, ito lahat to default para kapag may mga hindi pa kami na-render na page, ito lagi yung lalabas. Okay, so showing all raw tags, and lang yung ito lang yung meta tags niya. Okay? However, pag may kahit isa na mag-access ng page, okay, so lang natin itong load lang natin itong page na to. Okay. So, dapat pag tinry na siyang i-scrape ni Facebook, may lalabas na dito yung meta tags of that page. So, try natin. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Okay. So, yan. So, yan. That's basically how it works. Basta may isang mag-access ng page, na-render and na-add na siya sa sitemap. So, and makikita nyo nandito na yung proper meta tags niya. Okay. So, yun lang. That's it for me. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, Troy, for that wonderful topic. And yeah, so I know that there are plenty of people who wants to ask question. Now it's time for you to ask. And again, thanks for sharing the pros and cons of single page application. And of course, thanks for showing to us how you use AWS to authenticate and authorize users on SPA and plenty of stuff. And the demo pa. So yan, may questions na tayo. You can just click on the Q&A. Yun. May question pala kanina si Nestor Lim. That's what do you do if your website is crawled by Google but is not returned in any search results?
Okay, for this question, marami kasi yung pwedeng sagot dito. Pero ayoko mang hula. You can start siguro by checking yung sa Google Search Console kung ano yung nai-index na page, kung ano yung itsura ng nai-index na page mo. Okay? Kasi like for example, sa example ko kanina, may mga pages na hindi na run through JavaScript si Google. So ngayon, nung chinek ko siya sa Google Search Console, yan, wala yung title meta tag, wala yung mga meta tag, walang meta tags, wala ring content. So ngayon, ginagawa kasi ni Google on those kind of cases, pinipenalize niya. So hindi niya sinasama sa search result. Especially kapag walang title. Kasi yun yung unang lumalabas, yun yung first line sa search result, yung title. So kung wala ka na agad, X ka na, hindi ka na i-consider agad ni Google. Okay.
Thank you. So Nestor, are you still there? And I hope nasagot naman, okay na. Sir Vince also asked, have you tried to, another question ito, this is coming from Vince Larimia, have you tried to consider Next.js? What are the pros and cons?
Hello, Sir Vince. Actually, meron kaming PNOC na project recently. Before nag-Gatsby kami. Kaya lang, before nag-Gatsby kami, kaya lang, yun nga yung sabi kong problem kanina. On the long run, pag dumami yung pages, possibly magkaroon kami ng problems. So, in-explore na rin namin si Next.js. Actually, yun na yung direction namin on that project. Maganda kay Next.js is nagsusupport siya ng SSR and SSG. Pero I think wala yung SPA, kung tama yung pagkakaalala ko. Pwede siya gawing SPA, pero may gagawin ka yatang hacks dun sa router nung Next.js. Kaya lang may nabasa ko article na hindi siya sinasuggest ng Next.js, nung Next.js developers or kung sino man yung nag-handle nung Next.js. Kasi kalimutan yung reason, pero hindi na sinasuggest yung ganong approach. Gusto lang is magstay si Next.js as an SSR and SSG. Ayun ko, nag-SSG din si Next.js. Pero I think SPA, hindi talaga.
Okay.
Right.
You're welcome, Sir Vince. Okay, here's another question from Win. Is the Lambda function also triggered when there are changes on the content of the page? Or wait for the life cycle mechanism on the triggered? It's on the chat box.
All right. Thank you for the question, Min. Like yung sa per-rendering conditions kasi natin, as you can see. Excuse me. And wala tayong condition for tracking content. Kasi like I said, mahirap mag-track ng change sa content. Kasi yung, sige, share ko na rin. Yung library na gamit namin is Puppeteer. Okay, so sa Puppeteer, naglalagay lang ako ng timeout na 10 seconds. So after 10 seconds, kung ano man yung ma-render na page, yun na yung sinasave ko na HTML. Kaya lang may inconsistency kasi doon. Since dependent siya sa time, pwedeng mag-iba-iba yung itsura ng content ng pages mo. Okay, so ayan, ayaw na pahirapan yung sarili ko. And yun nga, like I said, mas mahirap talaga mag-track ng change kapag content yung pinag-uusapan. Kasi like for example, halimbawa may isang section ka, hinati mo lang into 2 sections. Would you consider that as a content change? And if you will consider that as a content change, gagamitin mo rin ba yung logic na yun for all the other pages? And ayan, basta for me, mahirap mag-track ng content change. So, answering your question, yan, nag-wait na lang ako ng life cycle mechanism to be triggered. So, for our case, 30 days yung sinet ko initially. Pero if you want, you can do it in 15 days, 2-week period. That's also fine too.
Okay. Thanks for answering the questions. Are there any other questions? Follow-up questions? You're welcome, Win. You can type it sa Q&A. Your questions. Meron ba ako hindi nabasa? Nabasa ko naman lahat, no? Okay.
Nabasa naman lahat.
Huwag kayong mahiyang magtanong. Free lang.
Yeah, I think pwede na tayo mag-next, I think. So
Okay
next
na?
question, pwede nyo naman ihabol. Yeah.
Right.
other
How can
questions?
they add you, by the way, Sir Troy? So I know that maybe you're at work or something. So if you have any questions na baka mamaya ma-remember nyo yung questions nyo, no? You may, how can they contact you? Yan ba yung name mo sa Facebook, Sir Troy?
Yeah, Troy Polycarp, yeah.
All right. So is it okay for them to send you a message on your Facebook for questions?
No problem.
All right. So just add sa Troy Policarpio. And again, guys, feel free if you're not on AWS Facebook na user group, please join. And of course, invite natin yung mga friends natin to join para mas marami tayo. Yun nga, kahit ako, napapansin ko talaga, people are really very helpful with my questions. So, yan. And it's time for us to move on to the last topic, but of course, not the least. Thank you again, Sir Troy, for the topic. And the next topic is microservices, bridging the gaps with Amazon Eventbridge. And this speaker is a programmer by day and programmer by night. He is a technology generalist with more than 15 years of professional experience. And he loves trying out new things. And when he is not building stuff, he's playing support or offlane in Dota. Ako naman sa Mobile Legend, watching numbers change in cryptocurrency exchanges. We're trying to learn Mandarin. His weapons of choice are MX Clear's Poker, MX Red's Ducky 1, and a TKC Kiwis custom built Delete 58 Pro. I'm not really into keyboards, so I Google that and its keyboards. So let me call in the last speaker for tonight, Mr. Richard Ilagan.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Gina-judge na kita dahil Mobile Legends ka. Teka lang, ah. Let me share my screen. Saglit lang.
Sure.
Sana gumana to kasi kanina nagkakaproblema kami with the sharing of the screen. So I am assuming. All right, good job. So hi folks. Sabi nga ni Rhea, my name is Richard Nililagan. Most people call me Carding. So I've talked a few times na rin with AWSUG.PH. So if you've attended some of my talks before, alam niyo hindi ako mahilig masyado sa PowerPoint, pero I'm going to try to change that a bit today. So medyo may ilan akong slides sa inyo today. What I'm going to be talking about, at least tonight, is a bit of microservices. It's one of the things that I kind of would advocate sa aking mga sa mga taong lumalapit sa amin for help and consultation. So if you're not aware, sa AWS kasi, we have a sort of a program called Modern Applications Development, wherein yung mga companies, mga communities, mga groups that come to us to ask for help or consultation about siguro migrating or essentially just modernizing ano yung kanilang mga applications and technologies. We go through this program called Modern Applications Development, or MAD for short. One of the things na you normally see when you talk about modernization is microservices, for example. Pero maraming mga bagay na pwede tayong pag-usapan with microservices per se. And particularly for tonight, I want to talk about events. Yung events na klase ng architecture, anong itsura nun, how does that work, and how can you implement that, and how can you start doing that on your own applications and software. So generally naman, whenever we talk about microservices, yung prinsipyo ng microservices, it's very simple. The whole idea is very simple. Yung implementation tends to be very complicated, pero the principle behind microservices, it's really, really very, very simple. It's just microservices or modules or hiwa-hiwalay na piraso ng isang system or application that talk to each other, right? So doesn't matter how they talk to each other. Most of the time, it's HTTPS. Minsan, that can be MQTT, that can be WebSockets, that can be any other protocol. Basta ang point is, in microservices, you have multiple modules that talk to each other. So, for example, if you have a full service that needs something from a bar service, magpapadala siya ng request. Tapos si bar naman magbibigay ng response, right? Just like a REST API, yung pinag-uusapan ni kanina ni Troy, right? So you send a request, you get a response, so on and so forth, right? Like I said, yung prinsipyo ng microservice, it's very, very simple. Pero that in itself, maraming mga problema with microservices. One of the things, and ito personally, this is I think the most important problem. It's the last problem you normally contend with when I see people na, sige, babasagin namin yung app namin into microservices, right? Ito yung, kumbaga, yung problema na parati ko nakikitang nahuhuli. Kasi ito yung isa sa mga pinaka-importante at pinakamahirap i-solve na problema. One of the things na I think hindi apparent when you're trying to architect or design for microservices is, okay, meron akong full service, plus meron akong bar service. Si full service, kailangan niya kausapin si bar, right? Paano alam ni Fu kung nasan si bar. Di ba? So, generally, sabihin natin kumare, REST API ito. Kumari lang, REST API ito. Ang nangyayari kadalasan is meron somewhere na isasaksak mo sa loob ni foo yung address ni bar. Kung if this was a REST API, pwedeng isang environment variable, or meron kang end file, or meron kang secret vault somewhere, kung saan si foo kukunin niya yung address ni bar. Otherwise, hindi niya alam paano kausapin si bar. Saan ko ipapadala yung request? Kailangan kong kausapin si bar, pero hindi ko alam kung nasan siya. Di ba? So generally, what happens is that kailangan mong isaksak yung value na yun, nasan siya? Nasan si bar? Kailangan mong ibigay kay foo somehow, right? Ngayon, ang problema nun is that once you do that, nagkakaroon ka ng what we call a dependency, right? You become tightly coupled. And yun nga ang problema yun nga yung problema na sinusubukang isolve ni microservices in the first place. If you implement microservices or distributed systems properly, ang nangyayari is that wala dapat pakialam yung mga services sa isa't isa. Dapat, a properly implemented microservice architecture means na si foo, alam niya na may mga kailangan siyang kausapin, pero wala siyang pakialam kung anong itsura ni bar, anong programming language ni bar, ano ang platform ni bar, saan siya naka-deploy, nasan yung address niya, and so on and so forth. Diba? The mere fact na sinasaksak mo yung address ni bar kay foo, it breaks that philosophy. Kumbaga, si foo nagiging tightly coupled na kay bar. And that raises a few problems. Paano kung magbago si bar? Diba? Like say, nag-version up ka kay bar, something changes dramatically kay bar. Nagbago yung address niya, right? In a proper microservice architecture, if that was true, ibig sabihin, pwede ko lang palitan yung bar version 1, tatanggalin ko lang yung bar version 1, sasaksak ko lang yung bar version 2, and everything should be good with the world. Diba? Pero if we did yung ginawa ko sa previous slide, that's not true. Kasi that means na babaguhin ko si bar, version up ko siya, then I have to go back to foo. Kailangan kong baguhin yung sinaksak ko sa kanyang URL. Nagbago na yung URL ni bar, version 2 na. So chances are, and this is not always the case, right? Chances are, nagbago na yung URL. So now, I have to go back to foo. Kailangan ko rin i-redeploy si foo. Kailangan ko rin baguhin si foo, right? Which is very tedious. We're just talking about 2 services here. Paano kung toong microservice to na meron kang hundreds or thousands, di ba? What else? Paano kung gusto kong magdagdag ng gagawin? Like say, kanina, si foo, kailangan lang yung tawagin si bar. Ngayon, paano kung may bago tayong feature? Si foo, maliban sa kailangan tawagin si bar, kailangan na rin niyang tawagin si bus at si quox, right? So kailangan niyang dagdagan. Ganun din. So babaguhin mo si foo, dadagdagan mo yung environment variable niya, isasaksak mo yung mga address ni bus and quox. Pero ngayon, katulad ng kanina, dahil binago na natin si foo, malamang magkakascade yan. Paano naman yung mga service na nangangailangan kay foo? So kailangan din natin balikan sila. Kailangan ba natin baguhin si CZ dahil nagbago si foo? I-re-evaluate natin. Kung baguhin si CZ, yung mga nangangailangan naman kay CZ, i-re-evaluate natin. Kailangan din ba natin silang baguhin? And so on and so forth. Diba? Nakikita niyo kung saan nanggagaling yung problema, diba? So all of these cascade. Kasi meron tayong implicit na tight coupling between our services at malamang hindi natin namamalayan yun. Right? So when you start breaking up applications onto microservices, isa to sa mga bagay na napapansin ko hindi talaga naiisip eh. Like parang hindi na-realize until you're knee deep in the new architecture na parang, ay oo nga no, paano natin gagawin yun? Di ba? So, generally, what happens is, for example, meron tayong isang application. Bigyan natin ng konting practicalidad. Ilagay natin into something na malamang baka nagawa nyo na rin in your own applications. Sabihin natin na meron tayong isang application na merong services na ganito. Meron ako isang user registration service. Pag merong user na gumawa ng bagong account on my applications, meron akong kailangan gawin dalawa. Meron akong kailangan gawin na number 1. Kailangan kong gumawa ng default configuration for that user. Right? So parang yung default niya, pag pumunta ka sa dashboard niya, dapat meron na siya doon makikita at least pan lang yung parang boilerplate, di ba? Pangalawa, I also want to put that user inside my marketing campaigns kasi baka meron akong kailangan na yung marketing team namin, kailangan alam na rin na may bago tayong user, say from the Philippines, from Luzon, or so on and so forth, para mapasok nila sa marketing campaigns. Right? So very, very simple. Ang normally nangyayari is that yung kanina pinag-uusapan, yung kaninang sinishare ko na architecture, that's what we call orchestration. Kasi orchestration siya dahil nag-uutos ka. Like if you have a user registration service at kailangan may, number 1, gumawa ng default configuration, at number 2, kailangan mong idagdag yung user na yun sa marketing campaigns, for example. Orchestration is when yung user registration service, iuutos niya, uy, configuration manager, pagawa naman ng configuration. Uy, marketing campaign service, palagay naman tong user na to sa campaigns mo. Di ba? Normally, ito yung nakikita mo na parang, uy, Axios, HTTP post to the address ng configuration manager kasi may bago akong user, HTTP post to marketing campaign, mga ganun. Kumbaga, you're pushing a command. May tinutulak kang, may inuutos ka na, uy, configuration manager, pagawa naman ito. Di ba? And this can cascade generally. Ito yung parang default na architecture that we think about. Pero a lot of people are slightly moving away from that for a number of different reasons I'll talk about mamaya. The bigger alternative to this is something called choreography naman. So, kumbaga, I wouldn't say the exact opposite of it. I wouldn't say the opposite of orchestration is choreography. Pero ang isang architecture that is of a choreography type, ang ginagawa niya is just like a dance troupe, di ba? Alam ng individual services kung kailan sila gagalaw. Right? So kumbaga, kung yung same service kanina, yung same architecture kanina, nagkaroon ka ng bagong user, ang kailangan lang gawin ni user registration is i-announce niya somehow, uy, may bago tayong user. Right? Tapos, may sariling kusa na yung iba't ibang service na parang, uy, may bago tayong user, yung configuration manager, uy, may bago tayong user, kailangan ko siyang gawa ng configuration. Tapos yung marketing campaign service, uy, may bago tayong user, kailangan ko siyang isama sa marketing campaign sa atin. Right? Hindi nag-uutos yung user registration. Ina-announce lang niya. Kumbaga, uy, may bago tayong new user. Uy, may nag-send ng email sa atin. Uy, may nag-open ng bagong subscription sa ating application. Tapos gumagalaw na kung sino man yung dapat gumalaw. Alam na nila kung ano yung dapat gawin. Kaya siya choreography. Kumbaga, responsibilidad ng bawat service, alamin kung ano yung kailangan nilang gawin at kailan. Ito yung mga tipo ng architecture na we call event-based. If you want to read more about it, ito yung parang pinaka-basis ng mga CQRS, event sourcing, mga ganun. Then this is generally how it works. For event-driven architectures, just like yung kanina, whenever something needs to announce, every time na may kailangan parang ipaalam sa madla, sa lahat ng services na may nangyari, meron ka generally na event bus somewhere. Ngayon, that can be something very simple like SQS or SNS or even something like Kafka or Apache Kafka or something like that, di ba? Basta, parang meron kang isang central repository somewhere where your events go. Kung bumuo ka na ng web applications before or mobile applications, alam niyo na how this works. For example, in HTML and JavaScript, pag may mag-click ng button, yung button, ina-announce niya na, uy, may nag-click sa akin. Tapos, baka may kinabit ka ng click handler somewhere that automatically mag-fire, automatically mag-trigger. Same here. So, ganun din yan. If a service announces na, uy, nangyari ito, may mga service na alam na nila kung sino, alam na nila kung ano yung kailangan nila pakinggan. So, kumbaga, itong tatlong ito, alam na nila na, uy, may bago tayong user, so kailangan kong gumalaw. Yung ibang mga services na naka-gray, wala naman sila pake kung may new user, so hindi sila gagalaw. Right? So, kumbaga, pag sinabi ni Orange na, uy, may bago tayong user, lahat ng mga services na may pake, every time may bagong user, automatically runs. At syempre, this behavior can cascade. So itong green na ito, if it emits another event, pwedeng mag-trigger na naman ng bagong event. Like parang kumari, sabihin ni configuration manager, okay, nagawa ko na yung configuration, di ba? Pwede rin siya mag-emit ng event doon, tapos may magre-react na naman ng mga iba, right? And so on and so forth. That way, nagiging autonomous yung buo mong microservice architecture. That probably sounds complicated ngayon, pero bibigyan ko kayo mamaya na mabilis na example, right? So some very quick examples, for example, some very quick examples of mga bagay na malamang pwede niyong gawin like that, right? For example, user creates a new account. Malamang nakita niyo na ito lahat. Whenever a user creates a new account, may image siya, may gagawa ng user record and config, merong magsisend ng email verification, tapos pag puntahan ng user na yung link na nasa email na yon, may magpa-fire din na event na i-unlock or i-enable yung user na yun sa app, right? All of those can be done using events. Ang rule of thumb dito, right? You can generally use events if something needs to happen, like kumare sabihin natin na si user registration service, right? If something needs to happen after user registration at walang pakialam si user registration sa response. Like for example, may bagong user, right? May bagong user na lumapit sa app niya. Dadaan kay user registration. Kailangang magpagawa ng configuration for that user. So traditionally, ang mangyayari, si user registration, magtatawag siya, sabihin natin HTTP post. HTTP post, configuration, new, something like that, di ba? Pero in reality, wala naman pakialam si user registration doon sa configuration. Hindi naman niya kailangan malaman kung anong ginawa ni user configuration. Basta ginawa mo, pag gano'n lang yan, di ba? So wala siyang pakialam. Hindi niya kailangan yung gagawin ni user configuration. Same thing here. Kung user creates a new account, kailangan kung gumawa ng user configuration, wala naman tong pake about the user configuration, wala naman tong pake about the email verification, wala naman tong pake kung in-unlock ko na-unlock na yung user account, right? All of those are very disjoint. Kumbaga, basta kailangan lang mag-trigger. I don't care about the response. Basta kailangan lang mag-trigger, right? Some other examples. Kumare, meron ako gumawa ko ng isang social media na yung users pwede mag-upload ng video, for example, or images even. So, may nag-upload ng bagong image, pwede ako mag-emit ng event para yung video na yun, image or video, para yung video na yun, i-validate. Ano ba to? NSFW ba to? According to our site rules ba to? Pag nag-okay siya, pwede siya mag-emit ng bagong event. Okay, kailangan natin i-process, di ba? So gagawin na niya. Gagawa siya ng versions 480p, 720p, 1080p. Pag tapos na yung processing, sabihin niya, uy, tapos na ako mag-process. Okay, kailangan i-update natin sa catalog, sa database, kung nasaan man yan. Ito yung mga links natin doon sa iba't ibang video, right? So on and so forth. Walang pakialamanan sa response. Wala akong pakialam kung ano nangyari sa bawat step. Wala akong pakialam kung nagre-respond siya pabalik, right? It's not important. Last example, software dev life cycle. Sa mga engineers, mga nagko-code sa inyo, pwede rin yun, right? Developer pushes a code to a repository, pwede na mag-fire ng event para automatically mag-run yung tests or lints, kung ano man yan, or code quality tests niya. If that passes, magpa-fire ng event, magpapadala ng message sa Slack channel niyo na pag may mag-click ng okay, sure, deploy that, sabihin natin, magpa-fire din yun na event para automatically magpadala ng deployment para deploy, right? Make sense so far? Ganun lang naman yan. Generally, pwede ka mag-emit ng events, right? So generally, ganun yung simplistic way of looking at event-driven architectures. Basta nag-emit lang tayo ng events, tapos meron kailangan mag-respond, right? Meron nakikinig para automatically mag-trigger. So let me show you how that's normally done. I think blank slide. Yeah, right. So let me show you how that's normally done, right? So if you haven't taken a look at it, Amazon Eventbridge, this guy, siya siya yung event bus. Kumbaga, isa siyang managed service. It's a serverless managed service sa AWS na nag-act as an event bus. In fact, basta meron ka ng AWS account, automatically meron ka ng isang event bus. So pag andito ka na sa Eventbridge, lahat ng event buses nyo nandito, right? So pupunta nyo dito, lahat ng AWS account, automatically merong default event bus. Dito, sa default event bus na yan, dumadaan lahat ng events na ini-emit ng lahat ng AWS services nyo. So every time may nangyayari sa EC2 nyo, meron nagpa-fire ng Lambda, merong gumawa ng SageMaker model, may nag-deploy sa code deploy, lahat yon dumadaan dito. Right? So, bigyan ko kayo ng very, very quick example. Gusto ko, sabihin natin, gusto ko na may tumakbong Lambda function every time may EC2 na nagbabago ng state. Right? So sabihin natin na create, na terminate, na pending, na I don't care, right? Basta nagbago yung state niya. You can go to the default bus, I think dito yan. Oops, hindi pala, dito sa rules. So ang rules is, kumbaga, mga bagay na pinapakinggan mo. Ano yung gusto mong pakinggan? So dito tayo sa default event bus, wala pa naman tayong iba, right? So default event bus, let's create a rule. Bigyan natin ng pangalan, AWSUG.PH test rule. Tapos sabihin ko na description optional naman, when an EC2 changes, EC2 state changes, right? Tapos dito, pwede kang mag-define ng pattern. So pwedeng pattern, pwedeng schedule. So ECPC, pag gusto mong may tumatakbong something on a cron, kumbaga, pwedeng dito din. Let's try an event pattern. So ang event pattern is just sinasabi mo, ano yung klaseng mga event yung gusto mong pakinggan, right? So pwedeng all events or pwedeng gusto ko lang itong mga klaseng events na ganito and so on and so forth. May predefined patterns tayo. So you can do any event sa AWS automatically or you can do, kung gumagamit kayo ng kahit ano sa mga services na to, all of them are already integrated with Eventbridge. So for example, if you're using Auth0 for your authentication and authorization, if you're using Datadog sa pagka-capture ng metrics nyo or login or anything else, gumagamit kayo ng MongoDB, lahat sila pwede nyo nang ikabit diretsyo into Eventbridge. So parang sinasabi nyo na pwede yung kunin ni Eventbridge yung mga events na nangyayari sa services na yun para pwede kayo mag-react, for example. Right? Let's keep it simple though. AWS lang. So I want to listen to, pwede kayo pumili dito, anong AWS service ang gusto nyo pakinggan? Sabihin kong EC2. I want to listen to all events ng EC2 na event type. Ito, EC2 instance state change notification. So anytime an EC2 state changes, di ba? So ito yung pattern. Pwede kayong gumawa ng sarili niyong pattern. Ipapakita ko sa inyo ng insura mamaya. Pero pwede kayong gumawa ng sarili niyong pattern here. So pre-defined na to. Pwede kong i-ano yan. Ang event bus ko is yung default event bus ko. So ibig sabihin, basta itong event na to ay dumaan sa event bus na to, ano yung mga tatakbo? Kumbaga, ito yung mga targets ko. Right? So I want to run a Lambda function. So wala pa ako Lambda function. So let's create one very, very quickly. Meron na ako dito. Okay. May isa ako dyan. Gawa tayo mabilis. Isa. Test Lambda. Lambda. Okay, yan. Hop. Ang gagawin lang ng Lambda function natin is i-console log lang niya yung matatanggap ng event. Right? So, yun ang gawin natin. Very, very quickly. So, habang ginagawa yung... Ayan, andito na pala. So, there we go. So, let's create that. Mabilis lang. Delete ko to kasi hindi ko kailangan yan. Console, log, JSON, stringify, event. Right? Yun lang. Deploy. So far, so good. So, I think kailangan ko i-refresh to. So, i-refresh ko lang mabilis lang. So, balik tayo doon. Test. Event pattern, predefined, AWS, EC2, tapos instance state change, right? Pwede nyo piliin yung specific states if you want, pero any state na lang. Tapos, pili tayo Lambda function, yung ginawa nating Lambda, kagagawa pa lang natin. Create natin. Right? So, ito yung ginawa nating rule. Ibig sabihin, dahil sa rule na to, anytime this event happens in that event bus, which is yung default, tatakbo yung mga targets natin. Right now, isa lang. So, kung observant kayo, ibig sabihin, alam nyo na agad na pwede kayo maglagay ng multiple targets, right? So, pwede nyo padamihin yan dyan. So, gawa tayo ng isang EC2. Para lang makita nyo na tumatakbo, right? Launch tayo ng isang mabilis lang. Amazon, gawa tayo ng isang graviton para cute. So kung hindi nyo pa alam, sobrang ganda, sobrang tuwan-tuwa ako sa graviton. So if you haven't given that a try, please give it a try. Tapos, I don't care about the key pair. So, whoops, proceed without a key pair. Launch natin. So, ang mangyayari is that, gumagawa tayo ng gumagawa tayo ng isang instance, dapat, clear, yan. Ito na siya, di ba? So, ibig sabihin, habang tumatakbo yung EC2, dumadaan yan through different states, di ba? Pending, to running, to terminating eventually, right? So, ibig sabihin, kung tama yung ginawa natin, yung Lambda natin nag-fire kanina. So, balikan natin siya. Dapat pala hindi ko cleanose yung yung Lambda ko kanina. So, balikan natin yung Lambda. Double check lang natin na tumakbo siya. So ito yung monitor. Pwede mo tingnan yung logs dito kasi dapat tumabas yun dito dahil nag-console log tayo. Right? So ayun na siya. 2051. So 851. So para alam niyo hindi ko kayo ginagoyo. Right? So ayun na siya. Dalawang beses siya nag-fire kasi tumakbo siya sa pending. Ayun. Tapos tumakbo rin siya sa running. Right? So this is how you can make arbitrary things run sa loob ng inyong AWS account. Kung gusto niyo makinig sa iba't ibang mga bagay. Like kumare, iba't ibang mga nangyayaring events in your AWS account, anong gusto niyo tumakbong something, right? Pwede niyo gamitin yung Eventbridge for that. Let's take that a few notches higher. May konti pa naman tayong time na. So, ang gawin natin, gawa tayo ng isang custom na event bus. So, pwede kang gumawa ng isang custom na event bus. Ipapakita ko sa inyo kung paano siya gawin using the CDK. So, yung Cloud Development Kit naman. Gawa lang tayo ng mabilis na project. So, gagawa ko ng isang mabilis na project. There we go. Yeah. Kaya ako generate only kasi gusto kong gamitin CRN. So, if you've never used the CDK, I really recommend din na tingnan nyo at least kasi sobrang napapabilis yung mga pagde-deploy ng infrastructure naman. So, alam kong marunong na kayo mag-deploy ng applications, pero yung infrastructure na part niya, medyo mahirap, right? So, ang nangyari, if you haven't seen the CDK, normally, meron kang isang ganitong app. So nagkakaroon ka ng isang application, quote unquote, on AWS na binubuo ng multiple cloud formation stacks. So ito yung stack natin. Gumawa na siya ng isa. So this guy. Right? Wala pa siyang laman. So try natin i-deploy. CDK deploy lang. Oops, sorry. Yan, CDK deploy. So wala pa naman siya i-deploy dapat. Parang magpe-prepare lang siya ng something. So, gagawa tayo ng isang custom event bus on our AWS account, right? So normally, when you work with the CDK, yung ginawa pa lang natin is prepare lang natin yung code for working with the CDK. Wala pa tayong deploy on our AWS account. Anytime you want to create an AWS resource using the CDK, normally kailangan mong i-install muna yung library containing those resources. So kung sabihin natin na gagawa ko ng gagawa ko ng event bus, right? So yarn add. Dadagdag ko lang yung mga kailangan ko. The CDK for events, which is yung Eventbridge. Yung CDK for events targets, if I remember this correctly, which is yung panggawa ng targets naman. Tapos gawa tayo ng isang mabilis na Lambda din. So, i-install ko yung mga yan kasi gusto kong gumawa ng isang Lambda function. Tapos, gagawa din ako ng custom na event bus. Right? So, mabilis lang dapat to. So, import ko lang as events from AWS CDK. Yung kaka-install ko pa lang, events. Targets. Lambda. Targets yan. Tapos Lambda. Right? So, gawa tayo ng isang event bus. Very easy. Const event bus is equals to new events event bus. This my event bus. Ganyan lang siya. And you already have an event bus. So pag dineploy ko to, nakikita niyo, CDK deploy. Oops, dapat ko nakakalimutan. Habang nag-deploy yan, gawa tayo ng isang Lambda function. So, gagawa rin tayo ng isang Lambda function dito. So, new folder. Gawa tayo dito ng source. Listener. Yes. Right? Open to the side. May open to the side ba dito? Yes. Ayan. So, gawin natin na const handler is equals to async event to do module exports is to handler. Right? So, kung tama yung nangyari, nag-deploy na yung event bus natin, di ba? Yung CDK deploy. So, dapat, pag bumalik tayo sa Eventbridge, yung buses ko, ayan na. Yung custom ko event bus na deploy na niya into AWS. Right? Gawa tayo ng isang mabilis na Lambda function. So, ito na yung Lambda function ko. Console, log. Yung ginawa ko rin kanina. Right? Signify event. Save. Balik tayo sa stack. Gawa naman tayo ng Lambda. So, const handler ko is new Lambda function. My listener function. Sorry, nawawala yung mouse ko. So, sabihin ko runtime is Lambda runtime node kasi to. So, node 14. Tapos, yung code ko is... So, kung familiar na kayo with TypeScript or JavaScript, madali lang ma-pick up yung CDK kasi nakikita niya na kung saan tumatakbo yung kung saan pupunta yung code eh. So, alam niya na kung ito, sabi ko na, gumagawa ko ng isang Lambda function, node siya, nasa loob ng source na folder. Tapos yung papatakbuhin function is listener.handler. So ayun ang handler, yung in-export ko, listener yung file name, right? So pag dineploy ko to, habang nag-deploy yan, gawa na rin tayo ng isang rule. Gusto kong gumawa ng isang rule na nakikinig na custom. So, custom kong event, hindi yung AWS events na nakita natin kanina. So, isabihin, gumagawa ko ng isang application na gumagawa ng sarili niyang mga events, right? So, pwede rin yan. So, sabihin natin na new events rule, my rule, doesn't matter. Sabihin mo kung nasan yung event bus. So, yung event bus na nasa taas. Katulad ng ginawa natin kanina, di ba? Tapos, blah. Tapos pwede mo sabihin na yung event pattern. So yung event pattern, ito yung pinakita ko rin kanina about ano yung mga events na magti-trigger ng rule na ito. So pwede ko sabihin na itong event na to, dapat tatakbo lang siya pag ang source ko is yung app ko na ang pangalan is sample my app. Or tas yung detail niya is, kumari, yung pinasasabi ko kanina, new user registered. Right? So, tapos, idadagdag natin tong Lambda function natin as a target dito sa rule na to. So, to do that, nagawa tayo ng isang gawa tayo ng isang target. New. Yung target sa ginawa natin kanina. Gagawa tayo ng isang target na function. Ibibigay ko lang yung handler sa taas. Diba? So, nakikita nyo yung nangyayari. Diba? Very, very easy to understand if you program. So, yung targets, gawa ka ng isang Lambda function na pinapasok ko yung handler kanina. Lambda function na yan. Pinapasok ko dito. Tapos, sa event bus ko, ay sa rule ko, add target. Ganyan. Easy peasy, di ba? Oops. Ulitin natin yan. Kaya siya nagtatanong is kasi merong mga changes sa IAM na kailangan kong explicitly yan. Oops. Anong nangyari? So ito yung problema ko. Okay. Kailangan pala na to. Array. I keep forgetting. So medyo nauubusan na tayo ng oras. So ipapakita ko na lang sa inyo paano yung So paano pag gusto kong gumawa ng isang totoong event? Like parang pinakita ko na kung paano mag-listen, di ba? Like parang paano kung gusto kong gumawa ng isang bagay na nakikinig sa isang event? Paano naman kung gusto kong gumawa ng custom kong event? So normally, hindi ko na i-deploy ito. Papakita ko na lang how that looks, right? So sabihin natin gagawa tayo ng isang emitter. Dito. Pag sabihin natin na na kailangan mong i-install yung AWS SDK, right? Kasi yun ang pang-ano mo talaga, yun ang panggamit mo talaga when you're running applications. So sabihin natin naka-install na ka. So gagawa AWS SDK. As usual, if you use the AWS SDK, gagawa ka ng isang client. So sabihin natin na Eventbridge ko is new AWS Eventbridge. Yan yung client to, di ba? Gagawa ko na isang function. So const handler katulad na kanina. Module exports handler. So to make a real event, ang itsura niyan would look something like this. Gagawa ka ng events mo muna. So sabihin natin custom events, right? So custom events, pwede ka maglagay ng multiple events. So you don't have to send one event na paulit-ulit, one is to one. You can batch events if you want to. Pwede rin yan. Yung event bus name, kailangan mong ibigay. Yung source, ito yung pinakita ko dito. Yung event pattern ko is this guy here, right? So yung pagkatapos nito, anything you put on the event is subject to the event pattern. So pwede ko sabihin na, oy, itong event na to, ang source niya is yung sample, my app, up to you, what it's called, di ba? Yung detail type niya is, uy, may user na nag-registered. May user na nag-registered. If I want to send custom data along with the event, pwede kong ilagay sa detail. So yung detail is JSON object. So pwede kong sabihin na, kumbaga, user ID is something like that, name is Richard, and so on and so forth, right? So matatanggap yung yung buong event payload na to ay matatanggap nung event na nakikinig. So yung listener natin, yung event object na to nasa taas, ang magiging laman niyan is ito. Dahil nakikinig siya dun sa di ba? Nakikinig siya through the event bus. So pag ipapadala mo na to, gagawa ka ng isang request. I think entries yung pangalan nun. Events. Tapos console, siyempre hindi. Await, Eventbridge, put events. Bibigay may request na yan. As promised. Pwede mo send yan. Yun yan. So, ang problema mo lang is paano umaabot dito yung event bus. Sasabihin mo, Ano pangalan ng event bus na papadalhan? Tapos, ano yung event, kumbaga? Ano yung source, ano yung detail type, ano yung details. Yung event object sa Eventbridge, dapat pala inopen ko yun ng new tab. Mali talaga. So, yung itsura ng event object is this guy. So, pwede mong isabihin as little or as much of that as you want. So, ang nakikita lang parate, generally, is pwede ka mag-filter on any of those fields, right? So, pwede mo sabihin na gusto ko makinig on any event na ang source ay so-and-so, or nanggaling sa ganitong AWS account, or nanggaling sa ganitong region, or ganito yung klase ng event, or and so on and so forth, right? So, pwede mong yung event pattern na pinakita ko kanina, ito, pwede mong pwede mong gawin na as detailed or as restrictive as you want. Tapos makikinig na lang yun kung sino man yung nakikinig dapat doon. So, nag-deploy na to. Ipapakita ko na lang sa inyo kung anong itsura nun. Since may event bus na tayo, and custom event bus natin, di ba? Nakapag-deploy na rin tayo ng rule sa ating event bus. Ayun, siya. Tapos ang target niya is this guy, which is yung Lambda function na ginawa natin. This guy, yung listener, right? So generally, that's how you do it with the CDK. If we had more time, ipapakita ko sana how you deploy yung isa pa, if you wanted to emit. One thing I'd really want you to take a look at, kasi if you do this, ibig sabihin, anywhere on any application that has access to an AWS SDK, it doesn't even have to be JavaScript. Basta merong AWS SDK, even your terminal, even your CLI can send an event on AWS Eventbridge. It doesn't have to be on AWS. Pwedeng tumatakbo yan on your laptop. Pwedeng magpatakbo yan. Tapos, yung nakikinig ng event doon sa Eventbridge, it also doesn't have to be on AWS. Kasi yung rules na to, pwede kang pumili ng isang API na destination. This is actually fairly new, mga 3 weeks ago lang to. So pwede kang gumawa ng isang API. For example, if you have an application that is hosted on, sabihin natin, a different platform, even on your own data center, basta may ina-expose lang siya na API, pwede mong sabihin na yung rule na to, sige nga, pakita ko sa inyo. Yung rule na to, ang isa sa mga target niya is at the target is an API destination. So pwede mo sabihin na yung API ko kanina, yung pinakita ko sa inyo, ayan. So that's a real API. May tumatakbo akong API. So pwede mo sabihin na anytime may mag-fire ng ganitong event on this specific bus, on this specific format, on this specific event type, pasabi naman, padala mo kami ng request dito sa HTTP endpoint na to. Tapos you can configure that as much as you want. So ibig sabihin, number one, ito yung mga key takeaways, right? Number one, you can create events on any application. It doesn't have to be on AWS. It can be deployed. It can be running anywhere, right? Number two, you can connect any application as well on Amazon Eventbridge. It doesn't even have to be running on AWS. Basta meron siyang API if it's something external. So basta pwede siyang kausapin HTTPS. Number three, it's also completely serverless. Ibig sabihin, you don't have to worry about managing yung service. Gano kalaking event bus yung kailangan ko. If I'm sending 1,000 events per second across my event bus, gano kalaking capacity kailangan ko? You don't have to think about that kasi automatically na siya nag-scale for you. Right? Another thing na very, very important for me as an engineer lang, right? Dahil, ipapakita ko ulit sa inyo ito. Dahil lahat ng events ay dumadaan sa event bus, di ba? Ibig sabihin, theoretically, lahat ng records ng events na dumadaan sa event bus mo, if you take all of those uli, tapos ipadala nyo uli sa event bus, then you can, for example, use that to investigate bakit nangyari ito. Like for example, if something happens in your application na parang na bad, or something na parang, oh, weird, hindi dapat ito nangyari, you can take all of those events na dumaan sa event bus nyo, padala nyo uli doon sa event bus, and just check, ano ba exactly yung nangyari? Bakit, saang event nangyari ito at bakit ito nangyari? That is a feature called replay. So, ito yan siya. So you can replay events on, for example, another event bus. So if you have a production event bus and you have a development event bus, for example, may development or staging version kayo ng application nyo, tapos may nangyari sa production, you can take those events sa production, replay them on your staging, tapos investigate nyo, bakit ito yung nangyari? Hindi dapat ito yung nangyari, for example. It's a very, very useful debugging and analytics tool, investigation tool, especially for microservices and event. So if you remember my talk before about X-ray, if you ipagsama nyo yan with the replay, that is super powerful. So if you're interested in taking a look at Eventbridge after this talk, I'd really recommend you take a look at the replay functionality as well. Right? So yun lang. I really wish we had more time. Pero if you want to send me a message, I'm on GitHub at that your username. I'm mostly on Discord. So yung username ko sa Discord, if you want to add me on Discord, let's play some Dota. That's also my Discord handle. Normally you can find me at tambayan404.com. Just in case. If you have any questions, I'll take them now if we have some time.
Hi, thank you so much, Mr. Richard Ilagan or Carding. Thank you so much for that informative topic, and of course the demo talaga, no, maganda talaga yung may ganun. So yes,
I wish we had more time lang, no?
Yun nga eh. Would you like to add some more?
No,
would you like
okay
to discuss? All right. So yes, we actually have a question from Sir Vince. Does it have an auto retriggering mechanism if something fails within and between?
Yes. So one of the things that Eventbridge also does for you is automatically kaya niya mag-failover. So you can set up your Eventbridge, yung event bus niya, or yung rules to automatically have retries or even a dead letter queue. So kung sakali sabihin natin na parang, 5 retries, if it still fails, automatically pupunta siya into your DL queue para pwede nyo i-review bakit siya nag-fail and so on and so forth.
Right. Okay, thanks for the question, Sir Vince. Any other questions? You may ask your questions sa Q&A box or sa chat box. Hey guys, wag kayong mahiya kay Carding.
No, that's all right. Baka baka gutom na rin sila. That's okay.
Ito, what is the anti-pattern for Eventbridge?
An anti-pattern for Eventbridge. Ang kadalasan ko makikita is, for example, with any piece of technology naman kasi, it's not, any piece of technology, it's not for everything. Diba? It's not a silver bullet for everything. When we're talking about microservices, hindi naman tama na events lang everywhere, right? It doesn't make sense. I'd say, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, events really make sense. If you have like parang a sequence of events, a sequence of things that need to happen in an async manner, kasi wala kayong pakialamanan sa response, right? If you force events on something na, for example, kailangan ng response, then napapwersa ka to think of different ways to use events even when hindi naman siya dapat. For example, sabihin natin na yung example kanina ni Sir Troy about meron siyang SPA, meron siyang API, right? Na yung SPA kumukuha ng data from the API, right? So mag-HTTP get siya sa API, may kukunin from the database, ipapadala pabalik. If you try doing that with events, medyo magkakadaloko-loko ka kasi una sa lahat, walang paraan para yung event magpadala ng response directly sa dun sa SPA. Kailangan mong magpasikot-sikot eh. Kumbaga pinapahirapan mo yung sarili mo by using events because of that. So there's quite a few things that can trip you up if you're doing events then in that manner. Pero with any kind of technology, you just have to be wary about para saan siya at para saan siya hindi. Kumbaga.
All right, thank you for answering, Carding. Okay, so let me see. Any other questions? Yun. This is from Win. If you could also make a follow-up talk or article on how to apply. Ito pala. If you could also make a follow-up talk or article on how to apply observability to the events, not limited to the replay, not limited to logs, replay via events, and logs are final state. How about an active state?
What do you mean by an active state? I don't understand that part. Pero ito, let me try to answer yung observability part. Most of the time, when you're talking about microservices, actually, let me try to find. I actually did write an article on this. Let me try to find that for you. So when you're working with anything, not even microservices, you always want observability to what's happening, with what is requesting to what and what is the response and so on and so forth, right? So we actually call that process is actually called tracing. So I actually wrote an article on that. If you want to read more about it, paano mo gamitin si AWS X-Ray naman to get observability on your distributed systems. It's especially very, very useful when you're working with distributed systems kasi gusto mo makita saan pupunta yung mga requests or saan pupunta yung, ayan, ganito yung itsura niya. So saan pupunta yung mga requests, gaano katagal, may error ba, and so on and so forth. So this also works with Eventbridge. Yung article na to, dito naman yung URL. Yung article na yan is talking more about or about APIs. Pero this same concept also applies to anything distributed, even Eventbridge, even event systems. So that's a very, very good start if you want traceability and observability. Cool. Dapat balikan ko na itong blog ko. Tagal ko na hindi nagsusulat siya.
When was that written?
July. That was my last post.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's have another question. And this is from Nestor. Is it better to use events instead of message queues in designing microservices?
Very, very good question. Okay, so message queues work very, very similarly to an event bus, right? Thing with a message queue is normally when you're doing a message queue, it's normally one-to-one, right? For example, if you're doing SQS, or I think Kafka works the same way. The thing with a message queue is para siyang tickets, para siyang ticketing system. If you're doing Jira, alam mo yung ibig ko sabihin, right? Somebody posts a message, somebody puts a message, and then somebody takes it away, right? Somebody works on it. Kumbaga, somebody processes that ticket, somebody processes that message. Normally, 1:1 yun. Oras na kunin na niya yung message, it disappears from the queue and nobody else can see it until it resolves or it times out, di ba? Ang isang event bus is especially useful if you're talking about one-to-many. Like if you need an arbitrary number of events to happen because of something, that's really where an event bus really, really shines. Kasi an SQS or a queue really works if you want something like processed 1:1. If you're absolutely sure na 1:1 lang siya, right? It's optimized for that. Ganun talaga siya. It's a much better choice if you're 1:1. But if you're an arbitrary one-to-many, and you need filtering capabilities, for example, that's probably more for an event bus.
Nice, thank you. And okay. Okay, so next ko lang na question. Okay, thanks for your question, Nestor. This is from Ricardo Jose. What are the difference between Eventbridge with SNS?
SNS is really a push. Like I said, it's very very similar, right? An SQS is parang kumbaga, the difference between SNS and SQS is an SNS is a push and SQS is a pull, right? Say Eventbridge, difference generally with SNS and SQS is one is to one si SNS and SQS. Say in general, si Eventbridge is a one to many, right? Si event bus, it works more like, how do you say this? I'd say mas mukha siyang SNS than SQS in the same sense na you're kumbaga you're triggering something to happen, right? Pero I'd say na SNS is more low level than an event bus is. Kumbaga, you can think of an event bus as a dynamic number of SNSs working together.
Right, cool. Thank you for okay. Yeah, with SNS topics and fan out, right? Okay.
The thing with SNS kasi, alam mo kung saan topic mo ilalagay. Di ba? With an event bus kasi, Eventbridge, you don't know kung saan pupunta yung event. Yun yung thing. I think that's the biggest difference there.
All right. Thank you so much for that carding. Meron pa ba iba questions? You can again type in sa Q&A or kahit sa chat box. Okay, continuation lang ni Ricardo. I guess naisip ko lang kung kailan i-implement si Eventbridge or SNS.
That's actually a good, that's a very, very good consideration you're making. So I'd say that's a very good question.
Right. O, diba talaga great topics for tonight. Meron pa bang other questions? Our speakers are here pa. In case may questions like, minsan kasi talaga nakakalimutan natin, di ba, yung mga questions natin or baka may ginawa. So, in case you have questions for all the speakers that we have tonight, type nyo lang. Wala na? Okay, if wala na questions, last, 5. May countdown talaga eh, no? All right, so I think yun lang yung mga questions for you, Carding. And thank you so much again for that very informative topic as always, no? And thank you so much as well, everyone, for asking questions and for staying up until now. And I know that some are working, so okay. So if wala na questions, may idadagdag ka pa ba? Si Richard? Or reminders?
No, I'm good. Thank you for your time, everybody.
All right. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Richard Ilagan, Mr. Dota player. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Miss Mobile Legend.
Support din ako. Ang sarap kaya maging support, tapos ikaw yung killer, no? Talagang may ka na. All right. Anyway, again, thank you so much, everyone. And by the way, wag pa, that was the last topic, but meron tayong mga pa-prize ni Sir Rafi. So wait lang kayo dyan. But before our pa-premyo and mga let me just share my screen. Kasi meron tayong mga announcement. Let me share my screen. And there you go. So Yes, again, we are, this event is brought to you by AWS User Group Philippines, and we are a nonprofit organization, a volunteer organization from all over the Philippines who are composed, which is composed of mix talaga tayo. May professionals na mga AWS certified professionals, meron din mga IT students and non-IT katulad ko who is really interested with AWS for business. So we are also calling for volunteers, by the way. And if you want to be a speaker volunteer, please reach out to us sa AWS user group na Facebook group. You can also contact, of course, Mr. Rafael Kisumbing on Facebook. Mabilis if wala akong hindi ko siya na yung link ng kung saan kayo mag-fill out ng form. But if you like, you can always just visit the Facebook lang na group, tas sa admin nandun sila. Yan din nakapost yung name niya. If nakikita nyo ngayon, yeah, yung screen ko, right? Wait lang. Okay. And for April SAA tutor group as well. If you like, please join. So yan yung mga details. Just take a screenshot. This is also posted sa AWS User Group Philippines. So again, please invite your friends para mas madami tayo doon. And there's an AWS community builder. So apply kayo because the deadline is a few days na lang. Ilan days? 11 days. March 31. So just go to aws.com and then go to AWS Community Builders. And also tonight, diba, this is the March 2021 meetup. And of course, we have our April meetup, which will be on April 22nd, same time, 7 p.m. Yan. So let me call on Rafi. Are you ready?
So thank you. Thank you. So again, everyone, this is just the last part now. So if you have to go, we totally understand. It's 9:30 already. But if you just want to stay and hang and, try to answer some of the trivias that we have, then feel free to join. I hope you can see the QR, or you can just type in your URL, ahaslides.com. For our prize, we will be giving away either the AWS credits or maybe some of the swags in the store. Okay, but again, here it's more about just getting you guys engaged. Maybe adding some more knowledge to you in a quiz form, and yeah, that's the objective now. Right. So currently we have 9 people in the room. And let's just give it, again, maybe 1 more minute and to see if maybe there are others that will join. If not, we will only have 9 people. Currently, there's really 9 people at the moment. Okay, so again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. As usual, I would like to thank all the organizers as well. Our host, si Rhea, si Jambi, si Chard, si JL, and we have a lot of other volunteers as well, whether it be meetup, whether it be as a speaker, whether it be just a supporter, if you just share our events, suggest topics or suggest speakers to us. Yeah. All right. Sige, so I'm now about to start because we have 14 people, at least medyo madami-dami. 15, dumami bigla. So, nawala ng isa. O yan, bumalik ulit. Okay, so we're about to start. Here we go. Right? Let me just see na you guys are okay na. Ayan, nandiyan na. Lumalabas na yung mga names. All right, may 14 players. And let us start. No? So, habol na lang yung dalawa na hindi medyo may advantage lang yung first 15, but let's start. Okay, so question 1 out of 10. Here we go. Which AWS serverless service was launched 15 years ago on Pi Day, March 14. So, nung Pi Day, which serverless service kaya ang na-launch 15 years ago? Tagal na pala, guys, no? 15 years ago. Don't worry, hindi naman to mga ganitong questions, hindi lumalabas sa certificate exam to. Trivia lang to, more or less. So, correct answer is S3. Right? So, on Pi Day, lumabas.
Sir Ralph,
Let's see.
tama ako. Ang saya ko.
Great, no? Ayun. So, we have, the faster you are, the more points also. So, we have Jobet now currently on top. All right. Question number 2. Okay, which AWS service is a fast and flexible NoSQL database service? Okay, it's a NoSQL database service. Is it Aurora, Kinesis, DynamoDB, or Athena? Yan. So, NoSQL or non-relational database to. Okay, 2-1. Here we go. Ayan, DynamoDB, no? Aurora is a relational database. Supports Postgres and MySQL. So, no relational is the DynamoDB in this case. Right? Yan, nag-lead pa rin natin si Jobeth with 188 points. Question number 3. Which AWS serverless service is an event bus service that makes it easy to build event-driven application? Ako, very easy ito, no? Kasi event bus service yung keyword. Is it SNS, SQS, Eventbridge, or S3? Yun. Sapa. Kuha ng lahat. Of course, it's Eventbridge. Kaka-discuss lang ni Carding. Alright, oy, naunahan, mabagal nag-click si Jobeth na medyo tumaas na si V. Next, question 4. Which AWS service is the first AWS infrastructure launched for public usage? So ito yung very first, no? So mas nauna pa to kay apparently. Pinakaunang infrastructure service. Yan, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Tingnan natin yung makuha. Ayan. So, the answer here is SQS. Siya yung unang lumabas. And of course, EC2 is not a serverless service. No? It's a virtual machine. So, it is a server. Okay. And also, SQS is still, regardless of serverless or hindi, it's still the first service na na-launch for public usage, SQS. Right? Ayun, nakabawi si Jobeth and now followed by PM. No score lang to. Wait. I-click ko lang yung open. Bakit naka-close to? Yan, if you guys can type lang, what topics would you like to discuss in the near future? I think pag nagta-type ka, lumalabas yun, di ba? Pwede ko i-close to. So, gusto ng Eventbridge more? VPN tunnel. Okay, magandang topic yan. Active Directory, no? Tatlong klaseng Active Directory tayo. Meron tayong simple, connector, no? Magandang topic din ang Active Directory. Right? Thank you sa pag-submit, no? We'll take note of this and we'll look for yung speakers for this. Thank you very much. Question number 5. Which AWS serverless service is on-demand auto-scaling MySQL and Postgres compatible relational database? Okay, so ito naman ay relational na serverless. Okay, we have Aurora, S3, Athena, and Eventbridge. All right, so answer here is Aurora serverless, so this is the RDS na serverless, no? Athena is just a SQL. You can write in SQL to pull the data, no? Especially out of S3, but it's not really the database service itself. It's an analytic service. So correct answer is Aurora serverless. Right? May chance pong humabol. Question number 6. Okay. Does Lambda allow you to deploy containers? Bakit ito yung lumabas? Parang hindi ata to part ng, I think na-recycled to from last time, no? But Lambda is indeed a serverless. So what do you think, guys? Will Lambda allow you to deploy containers? Right, so the correct answer here is true. So since reInvent last year, and if nandito kayo nung January na discuss to, Lambda now supports deployment of containers. Other areas that you can deploy containers, actually Lightsail also allows you to deploy containers, no? So those are the areas na if you're doing containers and EC, you might want to look at Lambda, you might want to look at Lightsail, you might also want to look at Beanstalk, no? ECS, EKS, madami nang nagsusupport ng containers at the moment. Right? Ayun. Right, next. Question number 7. Which AWS service allows you to coordinate and orchestrate Lambda functions? Okay, is it the state machine? Is it step function? Is it mechanical Turk? Is it Lambda Layers? Sorry, may wrong spelling lang, no? Pero that means Lambda Layers. Yan. Coordinate and orchestrate Lambda functions. Okay, so the answer here is step function. So this provides you a visual diagram also of how you can, from a flowchart ka, no? Lambda Layers is a area that you can recycle, or at least parang package. You can package applications para your current Lambda can extend its function to the Lambda Layers. Especially useful if, let's say, you have functions or functions that are reused a lot by your multiple Lambda. You can also use Lambda Layers if, let's say, the language is not supported. Let's say, for example, you want to use PHP on Lambda, or you want to build R on Lambda, then you can use the step function. In Lambda Layers. State machine, it's the language that is used in the step function. Okay, question 8. Which AWS service allows you to manage many SSL certificates or generate one for your use in your AWS account? So this is also serverless because it's a managed service as well. So how can you get SSL certificates, no? For your CloudFront, maybe for your ALBs. So it's KMS, Certificate Manager, Artifact, or Secrets Manager. we're talking about SSL certificates. Ito yung gumagawa ng HTTPS para sa inyo. Diba? May HTTPS yung browser nyo. So the correct answer is Certificate Manager. So KMS is used for encryption, right? You can bring in your own customer keys. You can also use AWS's own managed keys. Artifact naman is a repository where you can place artifacts. Right? So it's Certificate Manager. Right, tingnan natin yung latest score. Right, so leading pa rin si Jobeth, followed by VPM Troy. Okay, second to the last question. Which AWS serverless service allows you to query structured data in S3? Okay, so you are querying structured data in S3. Is it Athena, RDS, Neptune, sorry again, wrong spelling, and Redshift? Okay, so allows you to query the data from S3. Right, so the answer here is Athena. If those that are answered Redshift, no, it's not a serverless service. You will have to deploy a cluster or servers. So it's not a serverless service. Yes, you can import the structure from S3 into Redshift, but it's not a serverless service. So the answer here is Athena. You can use the S3 select on top of and then use Athena on that. So you can do a query language SQL-like in Athena. Okay, RDS also is not, well, you can definitely do an import with S3, but the better answer here would be Athena. Right, so just a poll, not a what do you call this? Not a score. Did the meetup help you with new learnings or knowledge? Just counting down 2019. So if you learned something new, let us know. If most of you already know this information, or if you don't really have a comment, you can also click no comment. Right, that's great. No, you guys learned something new today. Okay, so looking at the leaderboard again, based on the previous question, not the poll, no, it's Jobeth, V, and PM, and then Troy. Right, again, another poll. Overall, how was the time of the event platform, and presentation format to you? Ver is, very okay, and then good, fair, no comment. All right. Last 10 seconds, no? I think fair, good, okay. I think this is something you really have to improve as a group, at least for us hosts, no? Now we're not running over the time. I wonder if we should start earlier for some. Maybe we should start like 6:30. We'll discuss this internally. Again, message us for anything that you would like to say or suggest, no? We're always fairly open. Last question. This one, no rush. Okay, faster does not get you anywhere. Which AWS managed service allows you to send notification to many users in a fan out manner? Okay, ito fanning out naman. Right, so we have SQS, we have EC2, we have SES, and then we have SNS. Okay, keywords here would be like notification, okay, and fan out. So our answer here is SNS. Okay, we are sending a notification. SES primarily is for emails. While you can use SNS and then paired with SES to send it out over email, right? And when we say fanning out, SNS would be much better because you can have many different subscribers. Email could be one, mobile could be another one, like another queue. Okay, so you can have many subscribers to SNS. That's why it's called a fan out. Okay, so parang nagsaspread siya. EC2 is the virtual machine. So it's not just for fan outing, no, or it's not the best answer in this case. All right. So again, if we are okay, and if you want, and if you're in top, please do fill up your email address so that we can tell you how to claim your prizes.
Here's a reminder. Throw the trash.
Okay, just gonna give it a few more seconds para dito sa people who are filling up their email address just in case they want. All right, and now we have our top players. It's Joveth, followed by V, PM, Troy, Kurtz, and Win. All right, so congratulations to our top players. No? For the rest, of course, just keep up with your knowledge and try to learn and try to, practice and learn up as well. Okay, again, thank you everyone for your time. I'm now gonna stop sharing. And everyone, thank you for your participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
So
you.
we'll distribute the prizes by this weekend or next week, early next week. We'll send it via email. So make sure lang your email is correct dun sa ano kanina. Yeah. Or if it's not
If may
correct, let
mga
me know lang
suggestions
PM.
kayo, yeah. May just suggestions kayo, just send us a message. Let us know. Now we can improve or any mentioned by Sir Rafi kanina, yung mga topics or anything.